Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of ERT. My name is Derrick.
And I'm Kara.
So today we're going to talk about, in a nutshell, we're going to talk about theme park policies. So over the past 3-4 years, there's been a lot of changes that have happened. New policies that have kind of become like the standard, I guess you could say, across the overall chains and whatnot.
Are these standards you're saying that came into being because of COVID? Is that...
Well, some of them did come about COVID and stuck, and some others have just since then, or more recent, actually. We'll get into it, but there's actually a couple policies that say that really took place last year that as we're starting to see the effect.
Things that have evolved.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing the...
Yeah, I was kind of like, I like sci-fi movies, so I was really thinking like the dystopian world of the amusement parks, like how this is all like, the scary nonsense. I said scary twice because it's scary.
Super scary.
Yeah.
Double
so
scary.
We're just going to talk about some of these policies. Some of them have been around for a little bit longer than others. They're kind of like the hot topic, and we'll just kind of give our overall opinion on them. So let's just jump right into them. The very first one, which I feel screams dystopian, is virtual customer service. And just to give you my first taste off of that.
I was going to say, to explain, what do you mean by virtual customer service? What does that mean?
Pretty much meaning if you need to go talk to customer service, you can't because you got to talk to them virtually, like either through like online chat, email, and even sometimes you can't even simply just call them. It's just all virtual.
Okay.
And a great example of that would be when we went to Kalahari.
Yes.
So we went to Kalahari. When you go in normally at any other place, you go to like a front desk to check in. Their front desk is a bunch of kiosks. So there was maybe one human like walking around that was maybe monitoring this, but you just walked right up to a kiosk and it did the whole check-in. And I really didn't like that. Was not to me, it kind of put a whole bad taste for the rest of the trip off of that. Because I felt like it was so impersonal and like I had some questions and it just instantly off the back, it's like, oh, we're not going to, deal with you or answer any questions. But, and then it extends to other things too. Like if you ever have a problem, you try to call somebody and you can't, you got to deal with like online service chat. Thankfully, theme parks haven't been too big into that, but definitely this whole kiosk thing is... So, I don't know, that's my take.
You even see it at McDonald's. You go to McDonald's and you try to order food and you don't walk up to a counter and order with a person anymore. You walk up to the kiosk and you order digitally.
Yeah. And I mean, okay, it's a double-edged sword. Same thing with this Kalahari. If you know what you're doing and you've been there before, you know what you're getting into, the kiosk makes it go so much faster. You walk up, you know what you're doing, you get what you need, and you walk on. Same thing as you just kind of said, example, fast food like McDonald's. If you know what you want and you want to customize that menu, you go there, you punch it in, or even better yet, most people would probably be, if you're going to be, I mean, to me, if you're going to do it on that screen inside, you probably are going to be doing it on your phone on the mobile ordering. So nonetheless, same kind of concept.
But if you don't know what you're doing, like when we went to Kalahari and we didn't know what we were doing, Derrick went into the wrong line initially, and we were standing and waiting. We were like, this doesn't feel right. I don't feel like we're in the right place. And then I was like, oh yeah, we were supposed to be way over there.
Yeah. I was literally, no joke, I feel like an idiot. I was standing in line for an ATM.
Well, I wasn't going to say that. It
just said go to a kiosk, and I saw like this Kalahari sign above, and there's these people standing there acting like they didn't know what they're doing with it. And sure enough, it was an ATM.
It wasn't an ATM. So, it was changing cash into... card.
But I thought it was also an
ATM
too,
gives you cash. Okay. You were giving, it was the opposite of an ATM.
Which
but still.
We will talk about cashless. That's coming up, but not yet.
But still, I wasn't going to tell everybody that you went up to a weird machine that obviously wasn't the right thing.
I have my dumb moments.
But it was confusing. Nonetheless, it was confusing, and it set a weird tone for our whole entire stay. Just being like, wait, did we do this right? I'm not sure if this is correct.
Yeah, so So as of right now, I mean, I see the benefits, but I also clearly prefer to have that human interaction as something like that anyways. There's other scenarios I think it makes perfect sense.
There's definitely something about customer service and being able to talk to a person face to face that just takes it to the next level.
Exactly. So let's jump on to the next one. The next one, we're kind of like working our way, let's say, as we're going into the park in a way. So the next one, as I'm sure we've all seen across the board, would be bag policies and just overall security checkpoints. I would say for the most part, security is pretty standard across the board. By now, most parks, I know there's a few out there that don't, but most of them use some sort of security checkpoint where you walk through a metal detector at some point.
Some sort of
However, the
X-ray
biggest change would be the bag policy. For the longest time, yeah, parks might limit if you bring in like a water cooler or certain kind of food items or how big of that bag, but most of the time you could bring in a backpack that had, like your clothes for the water park or whatnot. However, there has been some incidents in, especially around the Halloween events, the bags have been very much limited down to even smaller than a simple fanny pack. It's
tiny.
Very tiny.
Very tiny.
Pretty much to be like, if you only have medical necessity there, then you can have a bag. That's pretty much what it came down to.
Or a diaper bag.
Exactly,
But you had to have a small child. And we've been to parks where they've been like, okay, open your bag and prove that you have diapers and wipes in your bag.
Exactly. And it's I get it, but at the same time, it's very frustrating.
It's frustrating for us because we are content creators and we're coming into a park not just with our children, so we bring extra stuff to begin with, but we're bringing camera equipment and extra stuff.
I don't know if I say that I hate it. I understand it, and especially if I understand what we're getting into, we can work with it. It's just I'm going to use Kennywood as a prime example. Their bag policy, I felt like it was switching by the week. It wasn't as that chaotic, but it was changing rapidly. And then
but Kennywood had a situation.
Yeah, they did have their situation.
They had a
situation.
situation.
To dive into that, but nonetheless,
well, right. But that's why their policy changed.
Yes.
Where I get frustrated, I feel like, is when things aren't streamlined. Okay, so you walk through the security checkpoint and they want to look in your bag. That's fine. But then there are some parks we go to that they don't care. Like Hershey, we could just walk right through and they don't, because of their systems and their screening, they don't even need to look in our bag and see our camera equipment, which should
is great because
set off the metal detector.
Well, because it's a different kind of. It's not just. It's a metal detector.
It's a different kind of.
It knows more or less that what you have in there is you're good to go.
Right. And some places you go and they literally want you to take every single item out of your bag until it's completely empty, and everything is sitting on the table. I've got like kids' clothes and shoes and diapers and all this stuff like strewn all over the table, and it's a mess. But they want to see every single item, and it's so frustrating.
Now, if I recall, you actually liked that because you felt like the security was actually doing their job, that they were actually checking everything and they were making sure that, you felt good. If they're checking me, that means they're checking everybody else.
What frustrates me, though, is I don't know whether I'm walking up to this security point and it's going to be a 15-minute process because I've got to take everything out of my bag, or if they're just going to be like, keep on going. And I'm going to be like, wait, what? You don't want to see the stuff that's in my bag?
Which is why we have tried to a little mini of a game plan. Usually I end up taking the camera equipment with me, and then she just usually has either the kids or like the diaper bag. So I think that's really helped the whole streamlining process, especially you said of things getting flagged 9 out of 10 times and you never get flagged at all. Right. You go through. So then that way I have the camera equipment that we know what's in there and we just go through it that way. And I think it has worked out pretty well when we started doing that. Like I was going to say,
that's just part of our strategy, but because we go to parks all the time and we've learned these things. But for the average person who doesn't go to parks all the time, I imagine this would be frustrating.
But at the same time, as I already just kind of hinted at it, it is frustrating, but at the same time, I'm glad because it kind of puts you at ease, that you feel safe inside the park, that they're doing their part to keep you safe there. And it's just one less thing that you're really concerned about. Mm-hmm. And you can enjoy and have a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next one, and I would say this is probably one of the bigger hot topics. And a lot of parks started rolling this out last year, and that would be cashless. A lot of parks were going cashless.
Cashless.
Pretty much you would either have to use your debit credit card, and if you do have cash, they would say, well, we have a, one of those machines that you can switch it from cash to card.
The reverse ATM.
Yeah, the reverse ATMs, nonetheless. And I totally get the frustration across the board because there's many that I just want to deal with cash and they don't want to deal with card, and this is very much forcing you to deal with card. And even with the exchange, the cynical side is with the exchange, when you do have a card, it is so much easier for you to simply swipe and go, as versus with cash, you're kind of physically seeing your cash dwindle in front of your eyes when you're spending. However, I totally get why parks are doing it. And when you look at it as a business, from a business side, having a ton of different vendors inside your park that have a ton of cash on them at any time, and then they have to go around and collect that throughout the day. Like I was hearing, I think it was what somebody was talking about with Kings Island, the whole process of what it is for, like, especially like their games, like they only can have so much cash on them, and on like on a really busy day, you'll just have like a courier going around the park just collecting this cash. And so you have all this movement of cash going around in the park, and I can just see how that just it just creates room for error. And as versus you go to cashless, you don't have to deal with that anymore. It's just swipe and you're done. There is no that whole process and, making sure you balance. And at the end of the day, too, that was a whole big process. You got to make sure everybody's drawer balances at the end of the day. They got to count it all up. So you eliminate all of that essentially when you go through this cashless system.
It does make me like slightly sad though, because I don't know about you, but I remember we would go to Kennywood, we would go to Idlewild at least once every single year. And my grandparents would give us cash on the way there. And they would say, go play some games, go get some ice cream, go do whatever, go spend this cash however you want. And so we would have cash and we could spend it to play a game or to get some treats or whatever. And so it's kind of sad to be like,
I guess the grandparents got to Venmo the cash. That's everything. And I kind of do have a problem with everything going fully digital in that aspect. I really do like even though myself personally, I feel like I'm, we
never have cash.
Yeah, I almost do deal exclusively with credit cards. That's a whole nother topic on another day, because I collect the points or whatnot for hotels and everything. So, but yeah, for those who want to deal with cash, and I do feel that it should be a little bit more accommodating, but I do understand the scenario, how it works in the park,
I would be very curious, and I'm sure that you probably can't find this information anywhere, but I would be really curious, like what, because it is so much easier to spend money on a credit card versus with cash. Do parks actually make more money being cashless because people just swipe their card? Or do they make less money because people are like, I don't want to go swipe my card to play a game? Like, nah, that's...
I know, that's great.
I would be very curious.
That's actually a great point, because when it came to games, for me growing up, like if I had cash on me, I would be more apt to go spend it on like one of the boardwalk games or whatever. Yeah. But when I have my own card, I'm like, I don't want to swipe it for the $3 for this game.
It feels like silly.
I don't know, it's different. And again, that's just... we're the weird millennials that are experience both sides with this whole thing. So, yeah.
Interesting.
And so the next one, this I wouldn't say super new, but virtual queues. And more specifically, I feel like where we saw it was being played out more is at Disney. However, for the sake of it's not 100% virtual, during COVID, I would say like Cedar Point kind of had their card, which was sort of like their virtual, like you can return to the queue between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock.
Yeah, they tried different things to spread people out. I mean, Holiday World, right?
Yes.
Holiday World had
I did not
queue.
like. They had a true virtual queue where you had to go on their app and select it. I did not like it. I thought it was awful because it would say like you can't get in line for this ride for 3 hours, and there was nobody in line, and the ride operator is like, I got nobody wants the ride, and I'm like, I would love to ride it. Like, well, add us into the queue, and I'm like, if I do, I lose the other one, and so they ended up letting it on, but nonetheless, I thought it was really weird.
It was obviously a buggy system. It needed worked out.
However, at Disney, it's obviously a little bit more streamlined. They've had plenty of problem shooting with that one. But I actually really like the virtual queue system. I'm not really somebody who's against it. Very much on a virtual queue for what it is, because the whole purpose of a virtual queue done well is we all hate standing in a boring line for 2 hours and you can't do anything. And the virtual queue allows you to do other stuff, and it's beneficial for the park because guess what? During those 2 hours, I might be riding something else, or I might be spending my own money on something.
Probably.
So you could be inside, instead of, that time spent inside a souvenir shop, you're stuck in a queue. So I very much like the virtual queue, and I would like to see it. It's obviously it's growing. It's still, I really still consider it in its infancy stage.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yeah. But I think it's very promising, and I can't wait to see more of the future of virtual queues. It's played out well, as long as it doesn't limit you, because I feel like it's something that works in tandem with you waiting and just the, I don't know what you would call it, just the traditional standby line.
Standby.
Yeah. If you still have that option of the standby line and also the virtual queue, I think is where it works out great.
I was saying, it works out great at Disney. Disney has a good system. They can do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it works well for Disney because Disney obviously has a huge amount of people going through their rides. Yeah. For a park like Kennywood, I mean, Kennywood doesn't get that. They get busy, but
they do have a virtual queue.
They do have a virtual
Skip the Line
queue
pass, which, you know, we're going to talk about Skip the Line in just a minute, but not yet. But yeah, it would make no sense to me. That's where virtual queue comes into. If it starts limiting the options for you to be able to ride a ride when you should be able to get in that line, that's where I kind of have the problem.
That makes sense.
But nonetheless, I still enjoy it. Now, everybody's favorite, the next one, assigned rows, assigned seating, or whatever. So before COVID, it was most regional parks on majority of the roller coaster, if not all of the roller coasters, you should be able to just walk right up and you could pick whatever row you want and get onto the roller coaster. Once COVID hit, a lot of parks started pushing this assigned row system because it kept the line moving. It was supposed to help with social distancing, and for the most part, I'm actually going to be the one in favor for this because, well, by and large, I really don't have a problem with this whole assigned rows, and I understand the negativity about it.
And by assigned rows, you mean that there is a ride attendant standing at the front of the station, and when you come up and you're going to enter into the station, they say, you're going to row 7, you're going to row 8, you're going to row 9, and you just go.
Exactly, because I think most people really don't know which row they want to go to. And I've been in so many stations where it's just complete chaos, where there is no assigned seating, to the point where the station is packed, but yet somehow like 3 rows went out on that train empty because nobody figured out or knew how to get to that row that was there and it was available because the people were just piled everywhere. And you could see it too. You're like, I would like to just hop on right now, but I can't because it's chaos. So, however, at the other end is I know people get frustrated because, well, if I'm going to wait 2 hours for this roller coaster, I should be able to pick that I want to ride in the front or the back, which, mind you, I feel like the parks have gotten pretty good with that, is they still have the assigned seating situation, but if you want to wait for the front or the back, 9 out of the 10 times they will let you wait for those special rows, or they'll have they'll usually have like a longer queue set up for the front or for the back.
I would say they've definitely gotten better with requesting a row, because once upon a time, the answer was no. I mean, you got what you got and that was it.
Yeah, that's happened to me a few times where they wouldn't honor my request, which was fine. You know, I still went to whatever row it was, but I think the one that stuck out with me the most was on Diamondback. No, I didn't throw a fit.
You didn't throw a temper
tantrum? It was
tantrum?
on Diamondback. They assigned me to like the middle row, and I was like, I really want to go to the back, but the guy's like, oh, there's already somebody waiting for the back row, and we don't allow more than one group to wait for one row. And this was during COVID, so I got stuck with the middle row, which was
a bummer.
Yeah. For sure, but nonetheless, I mean, that was the one negativity. But overall, I think it really keeps the line moving, and faster queues is just better for everybody overall.
I was going to say, it keeps the line moving because most people, especially if it's like a group of kids and they're not paying attention and they're just, piling down into the station, and then they're not paying attention as to saying, like, you actually need to step into a row, and they're not. So, yeah, assigned seating, it makes things move a little faster.
And speaking of assigned seating, which sort of kind of goes along, is the whole skip the line passes, or kind of even along with the whole virtual queue. So maybe you want the option, as we're saying, the assigned seating really helps the line go faster, but if you want to get on that ride even faster, pay that extra cash and just skip the line in front of everybody and go right up to the front of the line. Mm-hmm. And I know this is a very mixed across the board. I feel like it's turned into like this necessary evil at every theme park now. And
well, it depends.
There's the two overall, I guess you'd say, consensus going on about it is those who are against it are like, well, if we just get rid of the skip the line, the overall standby line will be a little bit shorter because instead of accommodating for all these, skip the line folks, everybody's in the same line, and then we just keep that line moving.
Okay, yeah.
And as versus the other side is, well, maybe I don't have time to wait for that 2-hour ride, and I would really just I'm tight on time that day. So I'm willing to pay the extra cash, and I can just skip that line so I can get on that roller coaster and, get on with our day, which is actually what we have done a few times where we really didn't have as much time in the park. We were limited, obviously, with our kids, let them to go do stuff, that we opted to buy like the Fast Lane Plus or whatever. I know we did that at Carowinds once, so Kara could make sure that she got on all the roller coasters that she missed out their first time around. And I thought it was the best choice, and I'm glad that we had that option. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it does kind of, especially at Cedar Point, it really kind of turns into this like, I feel like if you really want to go and do Cedar Point, you got to get that Fast Lane Plus.
Or you have to go over multiple days. That's just how it is.
And it costs like another extra. And the price tags for those can get pretty pricey. I know at Cedar Point, it can be like $150 upwards of $200 for that Fast Lane Plus. But in some other parks, you can get a little bit more reasonable. I do like some of these other options that they have where you can buy individual rides.
Mm-hmm. They have that at, Busch Gardens has that?
I can't remember if it was Busch Gardens. Mine's
Busch Gardens used to have kiosks at certain rides, and you could go up and you could buy a Skip the Line. I'm thinking of Invader. Invader had one. Do you remember? Maybe it was just during COVID. Maybe they took it away after?
I feel like you could buy certain individual Skip the Line. Now, I know Kennywood has individual Skip the Lines as well.
Kennywood does, yeah.
And I think they're like $25, which if you're your first time to the park, I think that's actually a great deal. I'm pretty sure it's about $25 at Kennywood because by and large, most of those roller coasters, the line shouldn't be too bad, but maybe you have to wait a long time for Steel Curtain. So
you have to wait a few
if
years.
It's even open. So yeah, or a few years if it's open. But yeah, if it's operating, your time's crunched. Yeah, that $25 doesn't actually sound too bad if you know that'll get you right on the ride.
Well, it's helpful when, if we're traveling and we're going to a park, especially a park that we've never been to before, and we only have one day to spend at this park and we want to ride all of the roller coasters, then getting that Skip the Line or the Fast Lane Plus or whatever means that we get to ride all of the roller coasters, or if we don't get it, we're walking away without all of the credits. So
now, Six Flags. That Six Flags does the individual Skip the Line options, especially over Georgia. You could purchase them, which we ended up doing is we purchased one for Goliath for you. However, if you have the pass, certain passes will provide you so many, and I use the other ones, which is very handy to have those individual Skip the Lines. But again, if you eliminate it, does it just sure everybody will have to wait so long, but the lines won't be as bad? I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough question because then I look at somewhere like Disney that has the Skip the Line and standby, and the standbys still seem to move pretty efficiently.
That's just because it's Disney. I mean, Disney moves their lines very efficiently. Universal moves their lines very efficiently.
And that's what I really think it comes down to is how good is your ride ops. And that's the other game too, is let's say you do go to a park and you're like, well, this is my only time at this park. I really want to make sure I can ride everything. I'm willing to pay the extra cash, but I don't know if I need to pay the extra cash. So let's say you end up buying the Skip the Line in advance and you're like, I really didn't even need it today. And sometimes that happens. I know that when we did get, usually what it boils down to, like, for example, we did it at Carowinds. It was like out of all the roller coasters, only really a handful of them that we really needed it. And the rest of them was like, if we had to wait in the normal queue, it really wouldn't have been that bad because it was almost a walk-on as it was. So it's a hit or miss. But that is another aspect to take into consideration. Is it really worth that extra cash? And sometimes you might feel like you got gypped.
It's kind of a gamble.
If you know it's going to be a super busy weekend, and then you're also going to pay even that extra fee too for that Skip the Line. But again, I feel that's where it kind of falls into where it's beneficial. But
I was going to say, if you follow, I mean, because you have done this when it comes to Cedar Point, you've watched the prices of the fast lane go up and down, and that's how you kind of know whether it's going to be a busy day or not a busy day.
Yeah. Well, and then the other aspect of this whole Skip the Line, especially Cedar Point probably has the biggest problem because it really became known is if you really got to do Cedar Point right, you got to get that Fast Lane Plus. Well, everybody started buying that Fast Lane Plus, which I'm sure the park was ecstatic because they're raking in the cash off of that. But this Skip the Line started getting way too long. Like, let's say the normal queue for Maverick would be like 2 hours, but the Skip the Line was like a half an hour or even a little bit longer. In your mind, Skip the Line means skip the line, not still waiting in a line. Or I still had to wait like 45 minutes for Steel Vengeance. So, yeah, is that really Skip the Line? And that's part of the game. I think is the more people started using it, the more it was like didn't really feel like that exclusive premium.
It wasn't
package.
worth it. It wasn't worth the price tag.
No, it really lost that whole premium feature luster, whatever you want to say. But,
so the solution is to what? Raise the price on it?
And that's what it kind of keeps turning into. Is just we got to keep jacking up the price and
supply and demand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the economics. The next one, which is, it kind of could have went down with a virtual customer service as well, but mobile ordering for food. I only see positive on this one.
We love this
Being
one.
able to order off of your phone, like, to me, I couldn't tell you how many times I've, in the past, were like, the worst is standing at a park is, standing 2 hours in line for a ride is one thing, but when you have to wait an hour to get food because the line's just insane, crazy. Just let me order on my phone, even if it tells me I have to pick it up in an hour and 20 minutes later. Oh, well, that's how it is. I know it's ordered and it'll be ready. That way I can order it, if I know that it's going to be a long wait, then I can order it in advance and be ready. Because, just standing around in that line, especially if you're really hungry or really thirsty, is just, everybody gets upset.
It's painful.
Yeah, and it just, the enthusiasm, everybody else in line, you can really feel it. It starts turning into like a hostile environment, really.
Angry. So, everyone is angry.
Yeah, exactly. So mobile ordering for food is A+ in my
Very
book.
good.
And I'm really enjoying more parks rolling out that feature. So every time I know there's a restaurant, actually now, especially in Cedar Fair, I'm looking for the restaurants that do the mobile ordering.
And we skip the restaurants that don't.
Exactly.
I was going to say, I think Disney was the first place that we experienced mobile ordering, right? And it was like, whoa, this is so fast and so easy.
Well, even during COVID, we saw mobile ordering with, I believe it was started with like Kings Island and whatnot too. So great idea. Keep rolling that out across the board. Love mobile ordering. I think even Kennywood was supposed to this year. They kept saying that they were going to, but... Unless it happened and somehow we missed the whole feature, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Kennywood remodeled the pizza warehouse and added a window that was specifically said mobile ordering. And they made a big deal about how we're going to have mobile ordering later in the summer and it's going to come to all of our locations. And then it never did.
So if it happens this year, 2024, I'll be really excited for it.
That would be awesome.
As long as you bring it to Permini Brothers. And so our last one, this is the one that I think really stirred up the coaster community or whatnot, and that would be the Chaperone Policy. So more aggressive starting into this year, especially I think it was like midsummer. It was just like park after park after park started announcing this whole Chaperone Policy. Basically, I believe it was if you were it was like 17 and under, you were not allowed to be in the park after 5 o'clock unless you were with an adult. I think that was 21 and older, or it might even been 18. I'm not really 100% sure what the age cutoff was.
Well, I was going to say, every park was slightly different. Some parks were 4 o'clock. Some parks were 5 o'clock. I'm pretty sure there were parks that were 6 o'clock. Some parks said 14 and under.
Yeah.
Had to have chaperones. Some said 17 and under. So there
were some,
every park was slightly different.
But nonetheless, it was a chaperone policy. And some places were extremely strict on how they enforced it, like checking everybody's IDs. At Kennywood, because they have the chaperone policy as well. I mean, we watched them escort groups of kids out of the park. It was almost like a sweep at like 5 o'clock. They're just like sweeping all these kids to the front. And it's sad that it has to happen, but I totally understand why it's happening. Mm-hmm. There's just been so much chaos, fighting or whatnot that has happened in these parks, and that's why I said enough. However, for those who are like, hey, I'm responsible, I'm 16, 17, I can go do what I can go out and do stuff. Why can't I come to, Cedar Point in the evening or whatever without, my chaperone? So, it's like a double-edged sword there. I understand that was very frustrating to many. And for us, truly honest, it never really affected us. Because our kids have
We're only 18.
Yeah. We're super young. Yeah, no, and our kids, obviously, they're going to be with us because they're, 5 and 8. So they're not walking around unaccompanied. So it's not
we don't send them to the park alone yet.
So the whole chaperone policy was never really affected us at all. So for those who did, I'd be very curious to hear your opinions on it. And actually, any of these policies that we talk about, please tell us your opinions on these down in the comments. But that's really what we all had for today, was these topics.
Bottom line, with pretty much all of these things, you know what it affects?
No.
A lot of these things affect the battery life on your phone.
Well, yeah, because a lot of these policies really force you to use your phone more.
A lot.
Especially
Mobile
at
ordering,
Disney, like
virtual queues,
yes,
cashless.
Exactly. And I know a lot of us are on our phone, but when I get to a park, like I'll use my phone to like video some things here and there.
I use my phone a lot. I'm taking videos all the time.
Yes, and then so when we go to Disney though, I am using my phone even more. So it's like I wasn't doing barely any video on my phone because I had to save all the battery life for, our Disney Plus, or I'm sorry,
Genie Plus.
Disney Plus. I'm watching
Disney
shows
Plus.
in line.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Wrong. They'll affect the battery life on your phone. And if you have an older phone and your battery is not that great, well, you better make sure that you bring like one of those rechargeable battery pack things, because otherwise your phone is not going to make it.
So, yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell all the policies we're talking about. Please tell me what you think about this in the comments. We'd love to hear your opinions. And, well, I guess until next time, this is Xscreamthrills.
Bye.